very good morning to you. It is the 12th of August 2025. It is International Youth Day. My name is Anne Odida. Just me today in studio. But of course, Fred will be joining us later on from Homa Bay with a State of the Nation starting 6:30. Lakini let's take a look at the local dailies and of course news making headlines regionally. Remember, the Devolution conference in Homa Bay County starts officially today. And that is what the team in Homa Bay is there for. We start off with the People Daily. Pained Kenyan now finds cheers in stars. The Star millions lost in county's payroll scam. Daily Nation talks about extorting fat bribes from jobless youth. This one should be a Monday newspaper in Yajana. We apologize for that. The Standard shielding Lagat. Business Daily, DRC Senate saves equity from forced shares. The Daily Nation talks about storm overhiring of 10,000 police officers. These are the local dailies, and of course we'll be back to take a look at them, to take a deep look into what they're all about. On the State of the Nation, Fred will be hosting Raphael Chimera, nominated senator, and of course Honorable Ahmed Abdullahi, Chairman, Council of Governors. Today being a Tuesday, I'll be having George Munga in studio. Managing partner, AMG Consulting Group, is also a finance and insurance expert on balancing employment and side hustles, starting 8 a.m. Tukivuka border, we cross over to Tanzania. The Citizen revealed formal jobs with highest salaries in Tanzania. Now, students and young professionals may want to consider careers in finance, public administration and manufacturing, with new data showing that these sectors offer the highest average earnings in Tanzania's formal employment market. And this story has been covered on page 2 of The Citizen. They're saying total annual cash earnings from formal employment reached 36.6 trillion shillings in 2023 and 2024, with the largest contributions coming from the education, public administration, social security and manufacturing sectors. So regionally, Dar es Salaam accounted for the largest share of formal sector jobs, representing 33.7% of the national total, followed by Morogoro at 7.3%, and of course Arusha at 5.6%. That is finance, public administration and manufacturing being the highest salaries in formal jobs. CCM seeks to raise 100 billion shillings for general election. That story is on page 2. And calls for action on a silent killer drowned in our midst. And drowning or falling into unsecured sewer systems and boreholes often goes unnoticed. Yet the number of Tanzanians losing their lives in such incidents is rising, prompting calls for urgent action. And on the top strip, end of an era as Ndugai is buried. Ndugai died last week. And matters election as well. Election 2025 manifesto inside CCM's strategy to make Tanzania transport hub in East Africa. That's The Citizen. We have gazeti la Mwananchi as well. Yatanua misuli kupigana Ikulu. Wanasema kwamba Rais Samia kuongoza Harambee. Daktari Nchimbi awaita makada kuchangia. Atoa angalizo fedha zenye masharti chafu. Vyama vingine vyatia neno. ACT Wazalendo yasuka mikakati. Daktari Mpango ashusha zigo polisi kuwasaka mazushi mtandaoni. Anasema hapo kwamba kwa kutumia teknolojia ya akili unde baadhi ya kusambaza picha za video za uongo za wagombea wa vyama, jambo linaloweza kuleta madhara za amani na utulivu wa jamii. INEC kwa zidi kunoga watiania urais mwaka 2025. Masala ya siasa pale katika ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti la Mwananchi. Na kule juu, raia wauawa, watuhumiwa na mauaji, polisi wajeruhiwa. Gazeti la Mwananchi, that's Tanzania. Let's take a look at Uganda now. We start off with Daily Monitor. URA tax hammer goes after all males. The Uganda Revenue Authority in its new tax regime has cast the net wider and has dropped in 12 key sectors of the economy. Among those required to transact business is EFRIS, or electronic physical receipting and invoicing solution. That story is on page 4. And they make mention of other organizations here, including the real estate activities in Uganda, construction, land sales, and other real estate activities will have to be done through EFRIS. Arts, entertainment, and recreation. The leisure industry has not been spared in the new directive. And transportation and storage operators of transport services have also been asked to transact in the EFRIS system. Electricity, gas, steam, and air conditioning supply. Domestic and commercial players will also transact in EFRIS. Others include wholesalers and retail of fuel. We have mining and quarrying, manufacturing. We have water supply, storage, waste management, and that is remediation activities, construction, information technology and communication, accommodation and food services activities, professional, scientific, and technical services. All this will be under EFRIS according to URA. Other stories: fired pastor was remorseful, Watoto says. That story is on page 3 if you want to take a deep look into it. And CID arrests 12 of ghost workers in government. On the top strip, former Minister Mary Karoro Kurut dead. And that's the Daily Monitor in Uganda. That's the only newspaper we have today. We don't have the New Vision. All right, we have it. Government moots bill to scrap LDC. They say new body to impose mandatory pre-entry exams at universities. That story is on page 6. Museveni makes it once again to the front page of the New Vision. President Museveni, Egyptian counterpart, to hold bilateral talks in Uganda today. 2026 polls, over 30 people pick presidential forms. Remember, Uganda will be going to elections in February 2026. Still matters politics, NRM, CEC divided over voting method, and ex-minister, literally giant, Karoro's ink dries out. That is former Minister Mary Karoro Okurut, who is dead. Let's take a look at the weather situation across various parts of the country. We'll start off in Homa Bay, where the Devolution conference begins officially today. It's 20 degrees this morning in Homa Bay. Feels like 24, just like yesterday. It's a partly cloudy day. Highs of 26 degrees, and precipitation in Homa Bay is 2.3 millimeters. It's likely to rain starting 4 p.m. Or just for 3 hours there, about 2.3 millimeters, not much. Crossover to Nyeri, feels like 13 degrees. A cloudy day, highs of 19 degrees, a very cold day in Nyeri. Precipitation 3.1 millimeters. It will rain starting 7 a.m. all the way to noon, 1 p.m. thereabout. Weather in Laikipia this morning, it's 14 degrees, feels like it, clear skies. Let's see, highs of 24 degrees, and precipitation in Laikipia County today is no rain today. It's likely to rain starting 1 p.m. thereabout up until 3 p.m. Precipitation 1.2 millimeters. We go to Garissa. It's taking its sweet time today. Weather in Garissa this morning, or I cross over to the other side. It's 22 degrees, feels like 24. Precipitation in Garissa, 0 millimeters, highs of 31 degrees in Garissa. And we go over to the coast. This is Mombasa, 22 degrees, feels like 25 this morning. It's a partly cloudy day. Highs of 27 degrees, and precipitation in Mombasa, 0.5 millimeters. Weather in Nairobi, finally, it's 14 degrees this morning, feels like it. Highs of 19 degrees. Precipitation in Nairobi, 1.5 millimeters. It's likely to rain starting 7 a.m. all the way to noon. We take a look at traffic situation. Tuesday traffic, yesterday there wasn't much to report. Lakini Fred told us there was a lot of traffic in Homa Bay as all roads were leading to Homa Bay yesterday. Landis Road, on your way to town, somewhere around here, building up slowly. Business going back to usual. Jogoo Road also building up slowly, nothing to report about there. If we go way back, Muthaiga interchange, clear, just yellow spotting there is probably ni matatu. If you go way back to Thika Road, green as well. This is traffic situation 10 minutes past 6. Ngong Road, clear as well. People who work from home, clear roads. Waiyaki Way, also very clear. Nothing to report. How about Eastlands? Areas around Makadara, Jogoo Road, very clear as well. No traffic there, so this is the best time to leave if you're heading to town. And of course, even if you're heading way back on the other side of town. That's the traffic situation, 10 minutes past 6. Let's take a look at the quote of the day.
Don't watch the clock, do what it does. Keep going regardless of the obstacles, because progress is made one step at a time.
All right, we take a look at the local dailies now, and we start off with business. Business Daily. DRC Senate saves equity from forced shares sale. They say Equity Group has secured an exemption from a rule in the Democratic Republic of Congo that demanded the lender sell a 30% stake in subsidiary to nationals of the Central African nation. The bank petitioned the DRC Senate to protect it from the rule that looked set to slow Equity's ambition to reduce reliance on the Kenya operations. Now, the DRC Central Bank, that is Banquise Centrale du Congo, requires banks operating in the Central African nation to have at least 4 unrelated shareholders, that is including current owners, to hold a minimum stake of 15% each by the end of 2026 to spread risks. And this story is on page 2. The Equity Group Managing Director makes it to the front page of this newspaper, that is James Mwangi. Kenya seeks to raise tax-free income above 24,000 shillings, and tax-free income is set to increase from the current 24,000 as the state seeks to cut the top taxation rate in a review that places Kenya at odds with the World Bank. And the National Assembly's Finance and National Planning Committee aims to review the current 5 tax bans and the 2026 Finance Bill, as lawmakers seek to reduce the burden on top and low-income earners to boost the formal economy. On the ticker, Kenya's millennials beat Gen Z's internet usage. The proportion of millennials actively using the internet in Kenya beat that of the Gen Zs during the year ended June 2024. High Court suspends tax-free rice imports, and the High Court has suspended the government's plan to import 500,000 tons of grade 1 milled white rice following a petition by the Farmers' Party. Those are the stories making headlines in the Business Daily this morning. Moving forward, we take a look at the People Daily. Pained Kenyan now finds cheer in stars. Tired of political lies and the heavy burden of taxes, country turns to churn for solace, politics and sport. And once again, congratulations to the Stars, of course, who made history against Morocco on Sunday, bringing in a 1-0 victory over Morocco, heading to the quarterfinals. This Sunday, they'll be facing off with Zambia. Fresh graves discovered in Shakahola with human remains. Shakahola 2 is back. That story is on page 6. And on page 4, they talk about Ruto's chess game for 2027 elections and the Gachagua headache. And that's the People Daily. The Star, millions lost in counties, a payroll scam. They say more cash remitted for salaries than amounts in payrolls, and this is according to Auditor General Nancy Gathungu. Key loopholes in county payrolls include fraud or manipulation of payroll, falsification of birth dates to remain in service beyond retirement age, remittance of more money to banks for salary payments and the amounts captured in payrolls, use of a manual system which is easily manipulated, excessive hiring, payment of ghost workers, payment of irregular erroneous wages and allowances, inflation of the number of casual workers, employees sharing the same bank account number, lack of staff establishment, irregular appointments, and redesignations. Millions lost in counties, payroll scam. Other stories here: no peace for the dead, vandalism and neglect. Dog City Cemetery and the dead at Langata Cemetery can get anything but peace and rest if developers are not ripping their coffins and graves with excavators, constructing new projects. The newly dead are being piled over them due to a lack of space, or the metal bars surrounding their graves, as well as tombstones and crosses getting stolen by vandals scavenging for scrap metal. Watchmen at the facility say they only pay specific attention to graves whose families pay up for extra protection. The dead here are literally alone. This story is on page 2 of the Star newspaper, and how a Ruto-Raila Kalonzo election battle could play out. They say as the clock ticks towards 2027, the presidential race is slowly shaping up as a high-stake political showdown with an unrelenting push to have Raila Odinga on the battle. President William Ruto is seeking re-election and potentially could be challenged by Raila Odinga on one side and Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka on the other. Already alliances are shifting, some openly, others covertly, as other key political players make ethnic calculations, with voter fatigue looming large. On the top strip, LSK survives bid to split it, defying it from regulating advocates. And that's the Star this morning. Being a Tuesday, the Star is not for sale. Fresh, independent and different. You can grab a coffee for free today. Daily Nation, this is Monday's newspaper, but we have today's newspaper, which says storm over hiring of 10,000 police officers. Commission has kicked off countrywide public hearings on new recruitment guidelines. It is a feud. A power struggle between police boss Douglas Kanja and the National Police Service Commission could derail an upcoming recruitment drive, with the commission now split into two factions, writing to the IG to reclaim human resource functions, including hiring, promotions, and transfers. This story is on page 4 and 5. Let's see what they're talking about. And they say the recruitment of 10,000 police officers planned in September could be derailed once again by a power struggle that has rocked the National Police Service Commission. A vicious supremacy battle between Inspector General Police Douglas Kanja and NPSC, in which he is a member, has snowballed into a national crisis that has split the commission into two factions, threatening the upcoming police recruitment. And one faction has the uniformed commission led by Mr. Kanja, while the other has civilian commissioners led by the chairman, who insist the police chief must now surrender all human resource functions, including the 60 billion shillings police payroll, as well as the roles of hiring, promoting, and transferring officers. Storm over hiring of 10,000 police officers. What the law says on police functions, Article 245 of the Constitution states that Inspector General of Police shall exercise independent command of the National Police Service and perform any other functions prescribed by national legislation. But Article 246 establishes the commission that it states shall recruit and appoint persons to hold or act in offices in the service, confirm appointments, and of course determine promotions and transfers within the National Police Service. Other stories on the front page of the Daily Nation: cancer patient now runs out of life-saving drugs. This is a special feature. It talks about Getamu Waigwa, who took his final dose of life-saving cancer medication yesterday, and the 70-year-old retired anesthetist now faces an uncertain future without a comprehensive deal with the Social Health Authority, SHA. Court bars import of duty-free white rice, and the government's plan to import 500,000 tons of white rice has been suspended by the High Court. following a petition by the Farmers' Party, which claims the move will hurt local farmers. On the top strip of the Daily Nation, it makes mention of matter sports. More millions houses offer for Harambee Stars, and President raises cash reward to each player to 2.5 million shillings should the national football team win Sunday's match against Zambia. A sweeter deal awaits should the team qualify for the knockout stage. And that means that initially they were to get a 2-bedroom house, but if they qualify for this, then it shoots to a 3-bedroom house. 8 billion shillings claims for civil servants and tutors probed, and Senator petitions House to investigate unpaid health insurance claims for families of public servants who died or were injured while on duty. And on the back page of the Daily Nation, breach of stadium security, big headache for organizers. Group A, Harambee Stars led Group A standings after 2 victories and a draw. CAF demands tangible actions to address security lapses in Kenyan matches at Moi International Sports Center, Kasarani Stadium. That story on President Ruto promised to Harambee Stars beat Zambia and you get 2.5 million shillings each, Ruto tells star players. And that's the Daily Nation this morning. We take a look at the Standard shielding Lagat, truth buried. 20 Kenyans have moved to court accusing President William Ruto, top security chiefs, and the Attorney General of shielding Deputy Inspector General Eliud Lagat from murder charges over the death of whistleblower Albert Ojwang, alleging a high-level cover-up, fabricated suicide theory, and a justice system stacked in favor of the powerful. This story is on page 6 of the Standard. They say Ojwang's death, Ruto, AG accused of shielding DIG Lagat from justice. That is Dorcas Oduor, who makes it on the front page of the Standard, as well as the DCI boss director, that is Mohammed Amin. A petition filed in the High Court alleged coordinated cover-up implicating top officials, and Ojwang, who ran a whistleblower blog focusing on police corruption, died in police custody in June of this year. The lawyer says by allowing him to continue in office, President Ruto is essentially rewarding impunity. This is a direct violation of Article 131(2) of the Constitution. Torture in prison still under wraps. Rights defenders want the torture, injury, and deaths in prisons routinely concealed. They are now calling for full accountability, independent oversight, and urgent reforms. Pregnancy tests in schools trigger outrage, and legal experts and the Parents Association have condemned schools accused of forcing pregnancy tests on girls, calling the practice unlawful, degrading, and a violation of privacy. Other stories on the inside pages of the Standard. Visually impaired students lead KU to Pop Glory at Music Festival. The festivals are currently ongoing in Meru. DAPK convenes crisis talks as Wamalwa and Natembeya rift widens. That story on Lagat and Bowed. Lagat returns despite murder probe. Cover-ups in prison deny justice for inmates. Right groups warn. And on the back page of the Standard, Coach McCarthy's magic rekindles Kenya's love for Harambee Stars. Each Harambee Stars player to get 2.5 million shillings if they beat Zambia this Sunday. And McCarthy proves nothing is impossible as Stars eye Chan glory. 2024 Chan Group A standings. Kenya 7 points, that is 1 match left against Zambia. Angola 4 points, 1 match left against DR Congo. And DR Congo 3 points, 2 matches left against Morocco and Angola. Morocco 3 points, 2 matches left against Zambia and DRC Congo. And Zambia 2 matches left against Morocco and Kenya. 0 points for Zambia. That's the Standard this morning. Once again on State of the Nation, we have Taifa Leo. All right, we have Taifa Leo. Seli Zamauti. And they say, let's maybe get closer. Seli za mauti vitanzi tangu kifo cha Albert Ojwang ndani ya seli za polisi mnamo Juni tarehe 8. Mamlaka huru ya kuchunguza utendakazi wa polisi IPOA inasema angao watu 20 zaidi wamekumbana na mauti ndani ya vituo vya polisi. Je, ni nani anayewaua au ni kweli wenyewe wanajiua? Ni swali tu, na habari kamili katika ukurasa wa pili wa gazeti hili. Vifo 2 tata ndani ya seli za polisi katika siku 3 kufikia Jumamosi vyaibua maswali kuhusu iwapo washukiwa wanajiua. Vidokezo zaidi, vishawishi vimezidi, Kalonzo atavuka boda, ni swali tu wanauliza pale. Kinara wa Wiper Kalonzo Musyoka ameibuka kuwa mwanasiasa anayewaniwa vikali na mrengo wa Rais William Ruto ambao unaonekana kulenga kuharibu umoja wa upinzani kuelekea uchaguzi mkuu wa mwaka 2027. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa 3 wa gazeti hili. Vidokezo zaidi, Israel yaua wanahabari 5 Gaza, waliuawa wakiwa katika hema lililo karibu na hospitali ya Al-Shifa ukanda wa Gaza. Kaimu kadhi mkuu mpya ateuliwa na mahakama yamteua Sheikh Sukian Omar Hassan ashikilie kiti hicho kilichoachwa na Sheikh Athman. Habari kamili katika ukurasa wa 3 wa gazeti hili. Kule juu on the top strip, waajiri wa polisi 10,000 hatarini kwa mgogoro, na zogo baina ya kanda na tume ya NPSC kikwazo kikuu. That's same story on the front page of the Daily Nation. Storm over hiring of 10,000 police officers. 2.5 million shillings, bilioni 2.5 kwa kila mchezaji Stars wakilaza Zambia. Ni ahadi tu pale, na tayari wanasoka hao wamepata shilingi milioni 2.5 kila mmoja. Pia nyumba zipo. Nasema kwamba 2-bedroom house, that's the promise so far, but if they make it, if they beat Zambia and if they qualify for the finals, then they get a 3-bedroom house each. Those are the stories making headlines, of course, in the country this morning. Once again, in the State of the Nation, Fred will be hosting Raphael Chimera, nominated senator, and of course, Ahmed Abdullahi, Chairman, Council of Governors, coming your way in just 2 minutes' time, live from Homa Bay County. Being a Tuesday, we are talking matters business today. I'll be hosting George Munga, a managing partner at AMG Consulting Group. And George is also a finance expert. The topic we'll be having this morning is balancing employment and side hustles. Let's take a look at the caricatures now, and we start off with the Standard. Wealth declaration, and this is the CS caricatured here, and they say I am worth 500 million shillings only. And on the other side, death declaration. We see a photo there of a Kenyan beggar who says I am only worth my vote. That's the caricature on the Standard. And on the Star, what else? They talk about the MOUs, a NADCO report, victims' compensation, and of course the conclave. It's a caricature here of former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, and of course the caricature of the president asking, what else? MOU, NADCO reports, victims' compensation, and the conclave. It's 28 minutes past 6. Let's take a look at the traffic situation, if at all there's anything to report once again. Yes. Muthaiga interchange building up slowly. It's already red at this hour. That is 29 minutes. We can see some red here all the way to Survey KCA University, building up slowly. The Utalii Drift, it's already red and yellow. If we go way back, there's something here as well, past Garden City Mall. Around also, that is the Outer Ring interchange there. If you go back, Mama Lucy Kibaki Hospital there, around Kangundo Road, also building up slowly on your way to town. Some red, but nothing much to worry about thereabout. Jogo Road, also building up slowly. We can see some red there as well. Manyanja Road, building up slowly. Areas around Railways Bus Station, Landis Road, Kamkunji, also building up slowly. Nothing much to report about there. And Ngong Road also, these are just buses there. And that's the traffic situation. That is 30 minutes past 6. Let's cross over to Homa Bay County and hear from Fred this morning. Fred, good morning. How is the situation in Homa Bay this morning? What should we expect?
Morning indeed, and all the way in Nairobi. Yes, indeed. Good morning once again, viewers. This is Homa Bay County, county number 43, the venue of this year's Devolution Conference, the 9th edition of the conference here. This morning I'll be hosting Raphael Chimera, nominated senator, and as well as the chairperson of Council of Governors, that's Governor Ahmed Abdullahi of Wajir. Today is the first day of the 3-day conference from 12th to 15th. A lot will be discussed here, and we'll be having all that. Remember, we'll be beaming parts of the conference as well live on TV 47. So it's a packed day from here. Do stand by for that. For now, let's take a short break. We'll be back with a lot more.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth, as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water?
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50 going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water.
Yes. Should be able to see the other side of the urine. If your urine is colored or has changed color, you cannot see the other side, then you have not taken enough water.
Don't forget regular health checkups. Early detection saves lives.
I want the message be, we can prevent cervical cancer. We prevent cervical cancer in several ways. You have young girls and even somebody who's above that age, you can pay at least every 3 years. Somebody should have a pap smear done.
If you are 40, 45, 50, going upwards, once a year, please go see a doctor. Yeah, it's just for normal routine maintenance.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into
Thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching Morning Cafe. Let's take a look at the stories making headlines. And at least 80 people have died through road accidents in the last 4 days. The Ministry of Roads and Transport has confirmed another accident claimed one more person this last evening in Kisumu and in Kitengela, grief engulfed Sub-County Hospital mortuary as relatives and friends of the Saturday morning accident victims camped to identify the bodies of their loved ones. The story was produced by Mwaluse Meshak.
By the Cabinet Secretary for Roads and Transport, Davis Chirchir, Monday evening indicated that at least 80 people have died through road accidents in the last 4 days. This includes an accident that claimed the lives of 26 people over the weekend in Kisumu. The Ministry of Roads now claims that officials drawn from various agencies are conducting safety audits on the road segments to identify safety deficiencies and to reconstruct the scenes. The team is expected to complete the exercise within the next 7 days and submit technical recommendations for implementation to avert unnecessary loss of lives. Monday evening, another accident claimed one more person, while 6 others were injured in an accident involving a Royal Liner bus at Lela along the Kisumu-Busia Road. Monday morning, 8 people perished here in a fatal accident that involved a head-on collision between a PSV Matatu en route to Kitengela with a lorry heading to Isinya at Korompoi area along Namanga Road. All the deceased, 4 male and 4 female, hail from Isinya Township and environs, throwing the entire neighborhood into mourning.
Tulipigiwa simu asubuhi ya kwamba kuna matatu iliyoanguka na ikaua watu 8. Kuja kufuatilia tukapata dada yetu alikuwa ndani ya hiyo matatu.
The bereaved families said they learned of their loved ones' demise through various social media platforms.
Mimi nikakaa, nikajaribu kuuliza kupiga simu, ndio nikapata kijana mwingine hapo anaanza kunionyesha video ambao walikuwa wametangulia mbele.
Residents now want the Kenya National Highways Authority, KENHA, to erect road bumps at the spot where accident occurred, describing it a black spot where at least 7 people are said to have died in similar incidents in the last 1 month. All the bodies were positively identified by relatives, and an autopsy of the 5 bodies have been conducted on Monday.
All right, condolences to the families of those who've lost their loved ones. Of course, even as the Ministry of Transport and Roads continue to record more deaths in this month, and last week alone we are speaking of over 80 deaths from road carnages across various parts of the country. And calls, have been called, to NTSA and of course road users and drivers to maintain road safety, just to tame the fatalities that are being experienced and being recorded so far. Moving on, Deputy Inspector General of Police Eli Lagat, currently embroiled in the high-profile legal battle over the murder of Albert Ojwang, has formally asked the High Court to dismiss an application linking him to the kidnapping, torture and murder of blogger that is Albert Ojwang. Now, Judge Lagat rejects the claim as baseless attempts to damage his reputation and that they are entirely unsupported by any credible evidence, as Sheila Chelangat reports.
On June 24th, an application was made to court seeking to stop the prosecution of 3 police officers charged alongside 3 civilians with the murder of Ojwang until DIG Eliud Lagat is listed for prosecution. An application that DIG Lagat has now termed as grave, defamatory and entirely unsupported by any credible evidence. Lagat insists he neither participated in, instructed nor covered up Ojwang's killing. He maintains that he was not present at the scene and that his role was purely administrative with no operational command over the incident. The pressure to have DIG Lagat prosecuted in this murder probe follows claims that Ojwang was arrested following a complaint filed by Lagat. In his response to the application, Lagat further states that both the Independent Policing Oversight Authority (IPOA) and the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions (DPP) investigated the matter and found no evidence implicating him. He cites that IPOA charged other individuals while the DPP chose to prosecute only 6 people in the case. Lagat maintains that the petitioner's bid to have the court compel the DPP to prosecute him amounts to an unlawful attempt to usurp the powers of constitutionally mandated institutions. Further, he says that his continued inclusion in the case is an abuse of court process and trial by publicity, even after investigative agencies cleared him of any wrongdoing. And even as the murder probe continues into what happened in the last moments of blogger and teacher Albert Ojwang, DIG Lagat says he has demonstrated his commitment to accountability when he voluntarily stepped aside from his duties to allow for investigations. Lagat has called on the court to recognize that he has been unfairly targeted and insists that dismissing the case is necessary to maintain the independence of the IPOA and the ODPP. Sheila Chelagat for TV 47.
All right, thank you, Sheila, for that report. Let's cross over to Homa Bay now. Fred, good morning once again.
Good morning, Anne. Thank you so much, and good morning once again to all our viewers. Yes, we're coming to you live from Homa Bay, county number 43, which is playing host to the Devolution Conference 2025. This is being the 9th edition of the conference, and under the theme, For the People, for Prosperity, Devolution as a Catalyst for Equity, Inclusion and Social Justice. The venue of the event is actually at Homa Bay Secondary School, and this morning we're very much privileged to have with us none other than the Chairperson, Council of Governors, His Excellency Ahmed Abdullahi, who's a governor for Wajir. Karibu sana, Chairman, to TV 47. I know it's a chilly morning here in Homa Bay, but it promises to get warm as we go along. Now, this is a very first Devolution Conference under your leadership as Chairman of the Council of Governors. And when you took over, you pledged your commitment to ensuring inclusion and to ensure that all these things that have been bedeviling a devolution in Kenya, that those things are going to change. And we're just wondering how much of that is going to play out at the conference this week.
Thank you very much. So you'll remember that in the last conference held in Uasin Gishu County, I was actually Vice Chair of Council and I was Chair of the Organizing or Steering Committee. So I've been in Council leadership for some time now. Having said that, yes, this is the first one being held under my chairmanship. And because now it's being held biannually, which is once in 2 years, and you can only serve as chair for a maximum of 2 years, there can only be one anyway. So, right, so this year's theme is about inclusion. And this was as a result of everything that we're seeing in Kenya, that there is a lot more talk of and demand for inclusion. We've seen what has happened with our youth for the last 2 years, where they are asking that they will not just be bystanders in the running and governing of this country. And we just thought that it's a very apt theme, for the people, for prosperity, devolution as a catalyst for inclusion, equity, and social justice. And that will be the overarching theme that will be embedded in all discussions. Having said that, you will reckon that there is at least 45 breakout sessions. These are side events outside of the main plenums that discuss matters devolution. And we need to remember that devolution is not only for county governments. Devolution is for all stakeholders. Devolution is for the national government. Devolution is for development partners. Devolution is one of our values as a nation. So we must think devolution in everything that we do, whichever institution we are. And these breakout sessions then will talk about all those functions that are devolved, the coordination of the same, what has worked, what could work better.
All right. Yeah. And it's interesting and curious at the same time that, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the papers this morning. On the front page of the Star, it talks about a scam in county payrolls. And incidentally, on the very first day of the Devolution Conference, and talking about issues to do with public participation, which is key in this conference. Right. Many people have been expressing the need to rein in corruption and to ensure transparency and accountability at the county level. How much of that is going to be part of the discussion during the Devolution Conference?
I've not seen the papers yet. It's a very early meeting. But I will take everything in the headlines with a pinch of salt, frankly. Because as a country, we tend to scandalize everything. First of all, there are 47 counties. And each of them have their own issues and peculiarities, and they have their challenges. There are the things they do right, there are the things they do wrong, right? It's a bureaucracy, just like the national government. So there are 47 official bureaucracies out there governing governments. That's why our theme at the COG is 48 governments and one nation. This is what it is, Article 6.2 of the Constitution of Kenya, that we are separate and distinct. Now, when we talk of being separate and distinct, it doesn't only speak to the county governments in totality being separate and distinct from the national government. They're also separate and distinct from one another. So when you talk of a payroll scam, you have to tell us which county, how, you know, the auditor picked that, right? What the issues were. So you can just generalize. Okay. So, yeah. And, you know, an audit will bring out something. Whether they are for blue chip companies or for governments. But there's a process in law of closing those audit issues. Okay. And then we've got to know in this case in point what the payroll issues were, in which county, what the auditors say, what action will be taken, was there theft or fraud, who is culpable, and then the process of law takes its course.
But now that it's been flagged by the Auditor General, definitely there are questions about management and the standards that are being used from one county to another.
Yes, yes.
We've seen in recent past that there's been an attempt to actually do a standardization of probably the kind of system for revenue collection, for example, that has met a lot of resistance from some counties. And one wonders, should that be the way to go, that from one county to another systems are standardized so that county 1 and county 2 have the same revenue collection and probably disbursement of funds as well in one system?
Granted, even for functions that are devolved and transferred, the role of standards and policies is still a national government function. So to that extent, yes, there is need to try and have overall standardized policies that work for everyone. But that does not then take away from the distinctiveness of individual counties. Counties are as diverse as they are. You know, we're talking of 47 counties. The issues that Excellency Governor Sakaja deals with in Nairobi are totally different from the issues that I deal with in Wajir County, because the landscape is different, the communication is different, the spatial development is different, the you know, road network is different. So there's the culture of the people is in many ways different. So even within that context of a standardized, you know, policies, we've got to then appreciate that there's, you know, you know, we're distinct in our own ways. Yes, for payroll matters, our payroll is largely handled through the centralized system of the IPPD, which works also for the national government. Having said that, there will be certain peculiar issues that they will deal with, you know, maybe casual labor in certain cases, for cleanups of counties and stuff like that. So, you know, coming to the question of revenue, you see, there's a trade-off between two things, my friend. There's a trade-off between standardized policies and the whole question of clawback, right? Because even when policies are standardized, the implementations of functions that have been devolved and transferred is with the county governments. Okay. But you will understand that in our devolution case, which is very unique, by the way, it's unique in the sense that it has created two parallel governments, levels of governments, right, that don't really report to each other, and which both then exercise their sovereignty directly from the people. We've got to ensure that we defend ourselves as counties from clawback.
Okay. You feel that that was an attempt by the national government to claw back on some of the gains of devolution?
Many of the administrative fair decisions that are made are tinged with some attempts of clawback. Basically, that's what it is. Right. And so the default position then for us at council is to say, wait a minute.
Okay.
Is there an element of clawback here? And fight that. So it's going to be a trade-off between standardizing and also ensuring that we remain true to the Constitution of Kenya under Article 6.2, that we are separate, distinct, and that we run our affairs in line with the Constitution.
Okay.
And so this revenue matter, it's not as simple as you're putting it, because we've had discussions. You know, people are talking of one centralized system. There are also issues. I'm not saying they are true per se, because I know sometimes, as I said, our media can be quite scandalizing about
quoting the Auditor General's report.
You know, and yes, they almost always take things out of context. And there are issues being raised about the e-citizenship, e-citizen, what do you call it? E-citizen platform, for instance. So what governors are saying is, if we have that one platform where we put all our revenues on, and it's hacked, what could be the consequences for us as a country? So those are some of the things that we are discussing. We're not per se you know, oblivious to the need to standardize, but these things have to be thrashed out in a manner that is acceptable to all county governments. And remember, when we come to that table, we come as individual county governments. And at the council, we run our affairs through consensus. So if there is a county government that says, no, this thing doesn't work for us, we've got to step back and listen to them.
Okay. Talking about the national government, and I know the head of state will be the official guest at the official opening of this ceremony. There are still challenges between the Council of Governors and the relationship with the national government, especially on issues to do with the devolved services. At the last Devolution conference held in Uasin Gishu, the president promised that he would ensure that the services that were yet to be devolved, that they would be fully devolved. I don't know where we are in as far as that is concerned.
That there will be issues is normal. It's expected, right? We're only how many years old?
12.
12. Even in the US, where they've had a federal system that has states and counties, they still have issues. They still disagree on many things. And they still sort out some things through the interpretation of the court system. So, and in our case, remember that we dismantled a very centralized and very strong nation state to get then this devolved, what do you call, system of governance. For us, everything was top down before devolution. So there'll be a certain level of resistance to change. It's expected. The bureaucracy at the national level will fight back. Certain things will take quite some time to clarify. And we're still at the tail end, I would say, of the process of unbundling and transferring functions. Yes, to a large extent, the president has kept his promise of devolving further the functions that we thought, or elements of those functions that we thought were still being kept at the center. The contentious issue is whether all the attendant resources have actually followed the functions. At the council, we believe not. So I think that's the debate that we still have, that still there are resources, and significant resources for that matter, relating to functions that have actually been legally transferred, which are still being held at the center, and this is as a result of duplication. There's still a lot of duplication.
What are some of the instances of duplication where the national government is still holding on to some of these services, yet has declared that they have been fully devolved?
It's mostly in the big ministries that are dealing with devolved functions. We're talking of agriculture. There's still a lot of money relating to crop production, animal husbandry, and the whole area of agriculture and livestock. we're talking of water, we're talking of health, right? So resources that, ought to have been put in that shareable pot. And we, flag this out even in the process of negotiating every single year at the Division of Revenue discussions with the Senate. Actually, itemized budget items in the national government that, relate directly to matters that have been devolved. So we feel that it skews the allocations, it skews the distribution of resources, because those resources ought to be part of what is put in the pot, which is then shared equitably through a constitutional formula among the 47 counties.
Talk about resources, and there's been this push and pull about how much counties should be getting. And now that the more devolved services have been broken down and taken to the counties, the resources should follow. But we're still at a point where the allocation from the national budget is about a paltry 10 or 12% of the total budget that goes to the counties. Are you confident that that can sustain devolution, and how far do you think that will be?
Now, I think this debate of the resources will need a discussion wider than the one we're having here, because that's the main contention usually between the subnationals, in this case the counties, and the national government. The whole issue of division of revenue, it's not a simple matter as it's being put, because there are many factors that come into play. We feel that since the inception of devolved governments, the national government, and I've said this in many fora, has front-loaded its share through public debt.
Okay.
Right? And this is not something that happened in the last 2 or 3 years under President Ruto. It happened mostly in the last 10 years under President Uhuru, where our debt moved from some 1.6 trillion left by Kibaki to the figures we're talking of 10, 11 trillion shillings. And national debt then is will be told is first charge on the consolidated funds. It's a national interest matter. And whatever is collected first has to serve debt, service debt before it can even be shared out. What then that does is it reduces the pot of what is shareable. Then there are also certain legal practical issues that we have to deal with. The floor or the minimum that counties ought to get is 15% of the last audited and approved accounts. The auditing is done by the Auditor General, but the approval is done by the House of Parliament, and in particular for national rationable revenues by the National Assembly. And it's always, the approval is always 3 or 4 years in arrears. So when you look at how much counties are getting vis-a-vis the constitutional formula, it may look a lot.
But it's not.
But on the basis of what is current budget figures, then it's not that much.
Hold that
thought. And the question then is, yes, they may meet the basics of running the county, but the counties are also not just about meeting the basics. They're about development. They're about opening up this country. They're about integrating everyone. They're about servicing and serving all corners of this country. Whether that is sufficient resources, then the question is out there.
Chairman, allow us to take a short break, and we'll be back to continue talking about that, because there's also the own issue of own source revenue collection for counties. Well, I'm here with His Excellency Ahmed Abdullahi, the Chairman, Council of Governors, at the venue where the Devolution Conference 2025 will be held. Let's take a short break. We'll be back to discuss a lot more around the discussions that will be live here in Homa Bay.
is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays at 9 p.m. on The Green Fix as we look into the big why, you and I.
For comprehensive information and education on your health, Body Garage is here.
Don't allow anyone to pluck out your good tooth as long as it is strong and stable.
Cancer doesn't start today and you get the symptoms tomorrow. By the time you pick it or the time it is manifesting in you, probably will be there about 5 to 10 years.
The eye is the window to the rest of the body.
Don't forget to stay hydrated.
And of course, you at home, do take your water.
So the ultimate test is actually you check your urine. Your urine should be clear.
Clear like the water.
Yes. Should be able to see the other side.
All right, welcome back. You're still watching Morning Cafe, State of the Nation. This is a special edition of the Devolution Conference 2025 being held in Homa Bay County, county number 43. And I'm still on set with Ahmed Abdullahi, who's the chairperson, Council of Governors, is also the governor for Wajir County. And Chairman, just before the break, we're talking about resources. And the biggest discussion has been the fact that counties 12 years on are still not able to generate their own source revenue to a level where it is sustainable. Are we going to see that discussion here? And because this discussion has been there over and over at the other devolution conferences, what have we picked from those and how are we going forward on this discussion?
Now, you've got to understand Article 209 of the Constitution. This is the article that stipulates or gives us the power to raise certain, revenues, what you're calling on-source revenues. But understanding the overall financial architecture, you would understand that, you will appreciate rather that a lot of our direct and direct taxation still happens at the national level. Mm-hmm. So our taxes are collected and collected at the center. Yeah. And that's why there's a formula for equitable share at two levels. First, at the vertical level, between the center and the counties, between the national and the counties. And then at another level, horizontally, between the 47 counties. Counties have very little power under the Constitution to raise revenues because what they can charge for is entertainment taxes, some land rates here and there, user levies for services that they offer. But the bulk of our direct taxation and indirect taxation, whether it's income tax, corporate tax, VAT, you name it, is all done at the center. So the Constitution itself has not given counties a lot of powers to raise taxes. Number two, with respect to those that they've been allowed to levy, and then they have different tax raising abilities. The amount you'll be able to collect in some of these probably city counties such as Mombasa, Nairobi, or the bigger counties, the Nakuru and the like, in terms of land rates and rates or entertainment taxes is very much different from what you can raise in Samburu. All right? So what we then need to work towards is every county to try and optimize its own source of revenue. In the county that I run, I may triple the taxes in 1 year. But in terms of absolute amounts, it might be a paltry, a couple of millions or 100 million or whatever. But if Nairobi were to increase its, own source revenue by even 10%, it will be billions of shillings. So I think you've got to understand it in that context, that in coming up with this structure and financial architecture of running both our national and county governments, the framers of our constitution did not envisage that the services being offered by county governments will be fully funded by the individual counties.
Do you therefore agree that probably the debate that some of these units are not economically viable is misplaced? Is that what you're saying?
It is completely misplaced because economic viability was not one of the considerations in setting up counties. All right? Because we need to understand the Constitution. What did really 2010 Constitution do? It took certain functions which were being implemented by the central government. Because those days we used to have what is called central government and local authorities, right? It lifted those functions and gave them to the counties. And this is why then we said there is need to cost and unbundle how much those particular functions were, costing at the national level, how much was being spent in delivering those services, and transfer that into a pot which is then shared between the counties for them to continue offering those services. You remember we inherited healthcare workers from the national government. Yes. We inherited agricultural extension officers. We inherited workers for all those 14 functions in the 4th schedule, which functions have been transferred to the counties. So it wasn't that, yes, when it was not meant that when you set up these counties, they start looking for their own revenues to do those functions. No. Those revenues actually just complement or supplement what the pot of equitable share has constitutionally given them out of the consolidated fund, where we collect and collect our direct and indirect taxation. But whenever we bring up this matter of whether resources are following functions or whether counties are being adequately resourced, then we're thrown that question of are you raising your own revenues? Right? The revenues at the center don't belong to the national government.
It's always like a counter argument.
Right. They belong to all of us also. It shouldn't be that it's the national government giving us some of its revenues. That's the mindset being created. No. It's Kenyan's taxpayers being collected and collected at the center, right? And being shared out between the two levels of governments on the basis of the constitutionally assigned functions. And this is why we continue to say it is not sufficient. If you look at other countries that have tried to do what we're doing in a different way, although as I've said, ours is pretty unique. Look at South Africa. The share between national and the provinces and the municipalities, local authorities, because for them they have provinces and local authorities, and the national government is something in the region of 45 for the national and 55 for the subnationals. In Nigeria, which has a federal system with states and counties, the counties, which are the lower implementation units, get 20, the states get 35, that's 55, and the federal gets 45. And that's of, the year's budget, I suppose. In our case, the floor has been set too low. At 15% of the last audited approved accounts, we're not keeping the auditing and the approval at the same pace with the budget. So those are things that we need to discuss. So the on-source revenue thing, I think it's been overplayed, if you ask me.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Now back to the national government and this still push and pull. I've seen you on TV complaining once in a while about delayed disbursement. Yes. We've had some governors even threatening that their counties will shut down at some point. Now these are serious challenges that 12 years since the advent of devolution we should not be dealing with. What is the challenge here and who's to blame?
Yeah, first of all, that's part of my job description as chair of council, right? Because, as spokesman of council, I have to raise those issues when they arise. And yes, we have been raising issues about both the quantum of resources being given to the counties, but also about the timeliest releases, how timely the releases happen. So, you've got to understand that we also raise revenues on the go, right? That the revenues are, collected by KRA, and then the Treasury CS and his team have to prioritize what it is they have to pay as they keep, collecting the revenues. And at times you will be told that, we were paying debt, we were doing this. So those challenges are there. But ideally, how the system ought to work, once the Division of Revenue Act is assented to by the President, and we know how much counties have been allocated in that fiscal year. All the protracted negotiations have happened. The disagreements between Senate and National Assembly, as is mostly the case, has happened. Mediation has been finalized. If 1 shilling comes into that consolidated fund, on the same day we're supposed to get our 15 cents or whatever amount.
Same day?
Yeah, same day. Ideally, that's how the system ought to work. That's how it ought to work. If we were to get, say, 20 bob, and that's where it's been, out of every 100 bob, then once 100 bob hits the account, we're supposed to get our 20. That's how the system was envisaged. But it's not working like that. So, and then
where do you place the blame?
Let's look at the implications of that. The implications of that is when you delay disbursing money to counties for 2, 3, sometimes 4 months. And I want to appreciate that with all the challenges, with all the noises that we've made, or we continue to make, it has really improved under CS Badi. I can tell you for sure. It has really improved. And the implication of it is that a nurse working at KNH would have gotten her salary by the end of the month. But a nurse offering services at a public facility at the Kenyan-Ethiopian border in a place called Bute, which is 4 kilometers or so from the Ethiopian border in Wajir County, will not have received her salary at the end of the month. But are they both offering healthcare services? And they both waking up at night to go and deliver some mama who needs help at the hospital? So this is why we're saying we need then to be sensitive to that and understand that it is the resources out of the equitable share that counties run these services. And this is why counties threaten to shut down services because they are unable to run them when disbursement doesn't happen timelessly.
All right. And now that compounds with a problem that has been brought up by critics as well, that the counties have become more like employment bureaus. That a lot of this money, however slow it's coming in, most of it is prioritized as salaries and emoluments before we even do anything else. By the time the end of the financial year comes, a lot of that money is yet to be disbursed, and that means that development and other services that are devolved suffers. Is there anything that is happening from your perspective to change that trend?
Another Kenyan idiosyncrasy or stereotyping of what happens in counties. Employment is part of what we're supposed to do actually. Yeah. And you know, the whole definition of what is development is in contention in Kenya, if you ask me. What is development?
Infrastructure, roads.
That's where you go wrong. Yes. That's where we go wrong. Development is not brick and mortar. And by the way, the more you do brick and mortar, the more you need to employ people to operationalize those. So every year, you know, let's look at Article 174 of the Constitution of Kenya. Visit that. The purpose of devolution. There are 9 listed there. A lot of them are about taking services closer to the people, right? And about the distribution of resources, equitable distribution of resources, about taking power closer to the people, about public participation, citizen participation. When you continue constructing more dispensaries, you continue drilling more water wells, you continue building more early childhood centers. If you don't equip them and if you don't staff them, what do they remain? They just remain some, what in Kenya there's a term for it, they call it a white elephant project. So I don't think counties have overemployed. In fact, we are very much understaffed in many cases. If we have to take services closer to the people, then we need not only have more brick and mortar, but we also need to operationalize that brick and mortar. The SRC, and this is a debate I've had with them, usually talks of wage bill as a ratio of or a percentage of revenues. But you see, every ratio has 2 components. It has what is called a numerator and a denominator. It is this over that. So if that ratio is going up because we're paying people more or we're recruiting more people and the revenue is not increasing, then it's not us to blame. Right? Some of those some of the costs that increase payroll are not even discretionary. For instance, when we change our laws at the national level to introduce housing levy, which is a cost that adds up to the payroll cost, but we don't compensate counties, right, for that portion, then you're increasing their payroll costs without commensurately increasing the revenues. So it's complex, my friend. It's not as simple as people are putting it. But I can tell you for sure that if all resources were to follow functions, if we are to actualize the debate that we usually have as a country in the run-up to the election, campaigns have kind of started. You know that?
Yes.
Right? Everybody's campaigning everywhere. Now, 12 months from now, it's going to reach fever pitch, right? There'll be promises made by all political actors. And I can bet they'll all pledge that they'll give counties a minimum of 35%, a minimum of 45% of the revenues.
All right.
Right? I think that's where the crux of the matter is. Yes.
All right. So probably these are the discussions we're going to have at the Devolution conference, Bwana Chairman. And now I want to give you an opportunity to tell us what you're looking forward to in this particular conference what we've taken from previous conferences that we're going to carry forward. And there's that special issue about public participation, that this one will be more to listen to what the people have to say and not just talking down at them. I don't know what shape or mechanic that will take, even as you do a rallying call for people to follow through with what we are having here.
Now, and there is usually no debate or disagreement as to the fact that devolution was the best takeout or takeaway for the Kenyan public out of the 2010 constitution. With all the challenges, real and perceived, Kenyans are in agreement that devolution was the best thing to happen to Kenya. And where we are is proof. I mean, look at Homa Bay town today, right? Would 11,000 Kenyans have come to Homa Bay had it not been for devolution? Right? And we've had this in many, many counties. We have taken it to Makueni, to Meru, to name it, yeah? Many, many places. So, also, I began by saying that devolution does not belong only to county governments. Every Kenyan, every institution, every level of government, national and counties, the Senate, the National Assembly, the county assemblies, civil society, development partners are all stakeholders in devolution. So this biannual conference, which happens once in every 2 years now, initially it used to happen once every year, gives us an opportunity to discuss how we are implementing devolution, what works best, what works, what could work better. You know, there'll be people who will even try and bring their products here to try and say this is where innovation is now with respect to cancer treatment. And this will all be discussed in all these side meetings, and there'll be people making contacts, right, on how to move things forward. Development partners will have an opportunity to meet, our county staff. They'll be able to meet the national government staff. And so there is more to it than just the plenary sessions and talking at counties. In the past, we've seen there's a lot of talking at counties, right? People come to lectures on corruption and stuff like that. Corruption pervades every level of government and every aspect of our lives. Sometimes I guess I get to think that we, as a country, also exaggerate it, if you ask me, because I've been to other countries and I also know the problems they have. We talk more about our problems because probably we are a very democratic society, but even that is part of what we invite people to do.
And we'll be having those discussions.
Yes, we'll be having those discussions. But there is more to it than that. There's more to it in the sense of also counties displaying what it is they are doing, what has worked for them. At the COG, we say do not reinvent the wheel, right? If someone is doing better than you, we allow copy. There's no copyright manenos in COG, right? If a county is doing something good, they share it and say this is how we've done it, it has worked for us, the other counties try it. Right. So this is also an opportunity to share experiences. So I would want to invite all Kenyans who I think probably the registration is now closed. In fact, we are oversubscribed.
10,000 plus.
10,000 plus. Actually, the last count was 11,000 or so. So that's what we could have space for. But you can follow us because most of this activity will be live on television, through the TV. And for those that have got an opportunity to be here, discuss freely, tell us freely what you think we could do better as counties, what we could do better as a country with respect to devolution, criticize constructively, and we'll all be better for it. I think we owe it to ourselves as a country to celebrate devolution, to discuss it, to see how we can better it in spite of all those challenges raised. As I said, real or perceived. I think.
Asante sana Ahmed Abdullahi, Chairman of the Council of Governors. He is the Governor of Wajir County. Yes, indeed, you've heard him. He's welcomed everyone, all the 11,000 plus delegates who will be attending the Devolution Conference 2025 here in Homa Bay to this venue at the Homa Bay Secondary School, where from today till Friday this week, matters devolution will be key. Let's take a short break now. We'll be back to continue with this conversation.
Our world is changing every day, and so should we, for the better. Each week, we tackle the big why, the question that should be on everyone's minds. Why isn't this fixed yet? Deforestation, global warming, and the adverse effects of climate change. The future isn't just something that we inherit, it's something that we create. Join us on The Green Fix as we tell the stories of those who refuse to give up. When it comes to fixing the planet, there is no time to waste. Join me, Shiksha Arora, on Thursdays.
Namsikia amesema beautiful scenes here in Homa Bay, the venue of the Devolution Conference 2025. And we're here, it's the venue here, Homa Bay Secondary School, is right next to Raila Odinga Stadium, and I'm sure you've been seeing those pictures there. But now, we're switching gears and talking to Senator Raphael Chimera. Senator, karibu sana, and I know we'll be having these discussions going forward. What are you looking forward to in this Devolution Conference?
Thank you so much. Let me first appreciate and congratulate Governor Wanga for hosting this Devolution Conference 2025. Fred, you'd recall one of the biggest takeouts in our Constitution 2010 was basically bringing services closer to the people. And that's what devolution is all about. And we've had many engagements before. There have been many dialogues in the past, culminating into conferences of such a manner. So I first of all want to understand, and perhaps this conference will be able to show me the progress report that we've made as a nation in securing the true place of devolution in Kenya. Have services been devolved to the people? Are the people of Kenya really feeling power has been devolved? Services has come closer to them, as opposed to the old central and unitary system. So that's what is basically my expectation today, whether county governments are on the right track, and what is basically the progress report insofar as entrenching devolution is concerned.
Yes, and I'm looking at the theme for the people, for prosperity, devolution as a catalyst for equity, inclusion, and social justice. And do you get that tide where this theme came from?
Yeah, because in the past, there's been a lot of social injustice. There's been a lot of lack of inclusion in public appointments, in the way we run our affairs. But sadly to say, some people, and rightly so, they believe when we go devolution, we balkanize the country. Balkanize the country in the sense that today, I, Chimera, coming from Kwale County, will be difficult to get a job in Garissa County, for instance, because I don't come from Garissa County. Yes. And I happen to have sat in the last 2 or 3 years in the Senate in the National Cohesion Committee. And these are things we came to experience firsthand. that you go to a county and the county has purely devolved even in the most tribal basics. Whoever gets the employment there must be a person from that county. So truly speaking, yes, we formed small balkanized counties, so to speak. But then again, I know there is work in progress. I know in terms of inclusion, we are working towards making sure that counties become cohesive as much as possible.
Right. But is it an issue of legislation? Is because there was that reserve for that every county within the civil service there, that some positions be retained for people from outside that county. Is it a weakness in legislation now that you're legislating?
Not at all, not at all. I mean, there's beautiful pieces of legislation in both in the Senate and the National Assembly. We have proper laws that are governing public service and how you recruit and how you comply basically with the law. But the issue, largely speaking, Fred, is this leadership and the political goodwill. Most of these leaders in position of influence, and I would call it as it is, most of the governors would shy off from complying with this. With that. And I wish I was here before when you were interviewing the governor for Wajir. I mean, it would have been a good chance to be able to put it on the spot. But basically, I know it's a question of the goodwill and compliance issues. Otherwise, in terms of the laws, there is absolutely amazing legislation that allows them to comply with the law.
And talking about legislation, you've been quite busy in the Senate with a few pieces of legislation here. Yes. There's one that was very interesting, the proposed amendments to impose a cooling off period for governors after they leave office. I'm sure it didn't go through.
Yes.
But is it something that you still feel you should pursue going forward? And why?
Fred, that was a very fantastic legislative proposal. Fantastic in the sense that when you talk about devolution, you basically talk about accountability. And the governors would always run away from that question. In fact, when I was watching, there was a question you asked about on-source revenue. And every governor is uncomfortable discussing issues of on-source revenue because that is your cash cow, to call it as it is.
Yes.
So basically, when you become governor for 10 years and then you seek to come to the Senate again to sit as a senator immediately after serving your full term, you will be, your judgment will be clouded by obvious conflict of interest. You wouldn't be able to sit and listen to audit queries, audit issues. And the governor who's been here rightly said that there are overlaps in the audit periods. Reports come 2-3 years way later. You can imagine, I, Chimera, for instance, I'm governor for Kwale, then I am elected senator, and the reports that are before me are basically about my tenure and my regime. And there is no way my colleagues would want to summon me and put me to task to answer on to those issues. So I felt that was a very beautiful piece of law. But then in terms of managing the politics of the Senate and the procedural issues, I was unable to raise the requisite number because when you're pushing in a constitutional amendment bill, you need at least 2/3 of the senators to vote for it to go to the next stage. So I wasn't able to raise 45 members that are going to be able to push it through. But it's a conversation I am interested, God willing, if I make it back to the Senate in 2027, which I really hope I will. The people of Kwale will always decide. I'll be able to push it through because I fundamentally feel it is something as a nation. We must put discipline in there, we do our politics and sanitize the political system in this country.
And I'm talking about priorities and discipline that you mentioned. There's this whole issue of bursaries at the county level. Education is not even a devolved function.
Yes.
You've been quite vocal in as far as anchoring bursaries in law. But one wonders, should that be the way? Because it is not a devolved function. Why are counties even bothering with that? Just governors trying to give out bursaries. Should they really be doing that?
Let me tell you, Fred, I personally hold the view that any leader must aspire at any given moment, however the resources, however much they are, to at least fundamentally promote literacy levels in his area of constituency. And I understand counties are doing so, not because there's a lack of a legal framework or legal backing. Most counties, for instance, my county, Kwale, they've put in what would be law, like a county bursary act. And most importantly is the issue of public participation. This is an expenditure drawn from what the members of the public have sat through public participation, have said, out of our shareable revenue, we want a certain amount to go towards funding bursaries for our children. Because over time, and that's why you went the devolved way, over time, many counties have been marginalized. Many counties have systematically been suffering from obvious discrimination. If we try and consolidate all these monies into one basket, some people are bound to be disadvantaged. And most of us might not really even be able to access educational level to higher levels. I personally, myself, Fred, I'll tell you, I'm a big beneficiary of bursaries when it was still under the CDF. But then again, we must also look at the Constitution and the law. If the Constitution says you've not devolved education as a function, so the counties are only left with the early childhood education and tertiary issues, then that should be it. But then again, it's a conversation that we must have. What we are really interested in at the Senate, because there's a hue and a public outcry there that senators are opposed to bursaries. It is not true. We just want to have a conversation in this country that secures the right to education for every child. Because as it is now, governors and these people who have bursaries are basically using it as a political tool. They will even go ahead and say in 2027, if you don't elect me into office, you will not get the bursary you are getting. But not everyone gets this bursary, Fred. It's not everyone. It's either you know someone, or it's either there's some connection somewhere, and some governors are bold enough to say, you didn't vote for me, so I cannot give you guys bursaries. And you can imagine, they don't pay the whole school fees. You can find someone with a fee balance of 30,000 and they're getting 10,000. And the governor would actually do a whole celebration, ferry people, they spend fare to come and get a check for 10,000. If you do the costings, Fred, you realize that that parent has just benefited by 5,000 shillings. The huge balance is still there. So I think we must delink the politics from the bursary program. Otherwise, it is a very awesome program to run. It is going to support most of us who really aspire to get much more education. But my own issue, and the issue that the Senate is raising, is that we've really politicized the bursaries, and it needs to be structured in a way every young Kenyan or every Kenyan child has access to these bursaries without knowing it, without having to beg for an. I saw a photo the other day circulating, I'm sure you saw it, of an old lady, I think in a constituency, should be these sides of Luanyans, kneeling before an MP just to get a 5,000 shillings check for bursary. I mean, it is inhumane. It's inhumane.
Yes. And it's interesting you bring that up, because the issue of even CDF, NG-CDF, is a big debate.
Yes.
And if MPs are really infringing on the roles of counties and in as far as development is concerned, and there's this push and pull about the road maintenance levy.
Yes.
This debate, this is 12 years on. As a senator, and the Senate's role is partly to defend and protect the interests of the devolved units. What do you feel is a problem, and do you feel overpowered by the other house when it comes to defending counties?
Not at all, because we draw a mandate from Article 96 of the Constitution, and we must protect devolution at all costs. But then again, Fred, as you do so, you must also strive to strike a balance between the counties and national government agencies. And you would imagine right now there is some sort of sibling rivalry between the Senate and the National Assembly. And that is, I mean, we've had many issues in terms of concurrence, who originates a bill. We want to have a much more enabled space within which to bring in legislation. And that's something we are discussing as senators, and perhaps we will need to push through an amendment to the law so that the Senate also can be given a much more enhanced powers in terms of legislation. Otherwise, we will always be going back to the National Assembly to ask for assistance in terms of pushing through laws. But let me briefly comment on the NG-CDF and the discussion on whether to have it or not. I know the courts have many times pronounced themselves on the fact that it is unquestionable. But then if you look at what CDF is doing to the Mwananchi on the ground, I mean, I support CDF being entrenched in law. I support the fact that CDF is running programs that can be seen. I'm not saying the counties are not doing much, but you see, when you have an MP who can construct a police station, an MP who do Huduma centers, I mean, that is material development in this country. And you cannot say CDF should be abolished because MPs solely should just be oversighting and representation and all that.
Do you support the
what
push to give more funds to the MPs as opposed to the governors, to the counties? A case in point, the road maintenance levy.
I think we got it right by giving funds to the county governments in terms of RMLF, because I feel already MPs have quite a lot in their pocket, and it's up to the county governors to be able to push through these road maintenance funds. But my only issue is that it's still little, and there's been delayed disbursements as well. I think the conversation we just had now, we really suffer from delayed disbursements. So I hope as much as we want to give them more money for RMLF, I hope that money will come in timely, so that governors can actually push through these road projects.
There's some of your colleagues who feel probably the governors shouldn't be getting more money.
They are feeling so because they are on the other side. But once they sit as governors, you'll always hear them saying we want more resources, and we don't see much out of it.
In as far as accountability from the governor's point, are you confident that we are getting it right slowly as we move on?
Still work in progress. I mean, I can tell you there's a lot of corruption in the counties. I mean, a lot of corruption is ongoing. It's as if we devolved the corruption, Fred. But it's a small baby, and of course we have our own challenges here and there. But over time we'll get it right. I am happy with the progress so far. So far, so good.
All right. Let's talk about relationships. And we've seen as we continue along, there's been strained relationships between county executives and their respective county assemblies. And these have resulted in a number of governors losing their jobs. We've seen even currently, there's one governor who's even asked for the dissolution of his county because of the relationship he has with the county assembly. And I wonder where the Senate comes in defending devolution and watching these happen.
Well, it is a whole conversation on managing the politics matrix of every county. And every county has its own unique political situations. Sometimes you find an overbearing executive trying to load over the county assemblies. And sometimes you find an overbearing county assembly trying to, go beyond their oversight mandate. You will recall, Fred, constitutionally, the county assemblies are the Tier 1 oversights. And that is where the issues are with governors, because some governors, of course, for obvious reasons, have no respect for their respective county assemblies, and they would never want to take any proposals, any actions planned from the county assemblies. And that's why you end up in these situations whereby governors come to the Senate. But then we see, as a Senate, we are a neutral arbiter. We really don't take positions when it comes to the politics. Impeachment processes, Fred, I'll tell you, are not legal issues. They are purely political issues. So sometimes if a governor doesn't get it right politically, then that is his own mess to sort. I don't want to comment on the issues on Kericho because, rightly speaking, perhaps they might come to the Senate. I might be, preempting the way things should be. But then as a Senate, we are really concerned by the events in such a county, especially by the utterances by the governor that he feels the county government should be suspended. Maybe rightly so, he has his own reasons and why he believes so. But then I believe the people of Kericho ultimately will be able to lead the cause. If they want to impeach their governor, I mean, there has to be grounds for impeachment. Yes. As a Senate, we will look at the impeachment motion. Was it prosecuted in accordance with the law? Is the evidence before us? Has it met the certain threshold that we look as a Senate? And then we will give our verdict. Otherwise, in terms of managing the relationship between the assemblies and the governors, it's squarely a political issue, and it's upon and incumbent upon the governors to forge a relationship between the two. But then again, you also have the danger of the executive sitting over the county assembly. And if that happens, then there's no oversight completely. You will see a rogue governor. I mean, governors doing their own things. Governors just engaging in funny projects and runaway corruption because the county assemblies are dead. And we also need to really speak, and that's a challenge I'm pushing towards the Senate, to capacitate our members of the county assemblies in the oversight role. Most of them seemingly are not aware or they're not capacitated enough to perform their oversight. And just to finish, the other day we just passed a bill at the Senate to give the county assemblies financial freedom and autonomy to do their own things.
All right. So these issues, and then I want us now to come back to talk about now the conference, the Devolution conference itself, and where the Senate comes in, because there's the issue of public participation that has come up, and this is one of the things that we'll be looking to include for the very first time, that we're going to have public participation, more listening to the stakeholders in the counties as opposed to talking down at them. The various stakeholders, the people living in these counties, the county assemblies themselves, the senators even. And there's been a lot of criticism on how previous devolution conferences have been, and whether or not it is just a talk shop that is rarely productive going forward. I'm sure you've attended some of these sessions. Forward to this Devolution Conference 5. I don't know if you're optimistic about the kind of conversations that we're anticipating, and do you find that previous Devolution conferences have been productive to an extent?
I think, Fred, I agree with you. Most of these conferences have been platforms and just being talk shows for especially the host county to showcase what they have. And when people do 3 days, 4 days from here, whatever has been discussed goes unattended. There is no there's no rapid action plan that then will be a follow-up and implementation stages. It never happens. But I was here yesterday and we had a wonderful conversation, amazing conversation with the young people of Kenya. I sit at the Senate representing the young men and women of this country. And last evening at Truma National Park, we had a nice conversation on including the youthful population in our politics, in our system of governance. It was dubbed Let's Talk Kenyan Year 2. And for the first time, I saw that truly this Devolution Conference 2025 is geared towards meeting certain expectations. And I hope that this time around we'll make the conversation about the people, about citizens airing their views. It is about us as a leadership in this country for the first time to keep listening. We must listen to the masses. What are the masses saying? What is the story about devolution? What are the success stories about devolution? What challenges do we have, as opposed to us as leaders talking down on them? You know, I can have 20 minutes in that podium, and I can go round, elaborating about the bills about at the Senate, what I've done as a senator. But what is key is for me to listen to what the people are feeling. Is devolution working for them? Do we really need devolution? Do we need 47 county governments? Or do we need more? Or do we need to collapse them? Do we need these county assemblies? That's what we need to listen to the people. And looking and judging from what we went through last evening, I am confident enough that from today and tomorrow and the next subsequent days, there's going to be a conversation about the people of Kenya talking to their leaders.
Yes. And of course, there's a whole issue about revenue, because it's resource allocation, and that's a big discussion going forward. Yet governors continue insisting that the amounts they're getting is not commensurate to what they should be getting. 15% of the total shareable revenue, we are way below that, and currently it's about 10.4% of what is coming from the top to the devolved units. Do you think that the Senate has, to some extent, let down devolution, and as far as fighting for it in those push and pulls that you have with the national?
Not at all, friend. Not at all. We've been steadfast, by the way, steadfast in supporting devolution, and not just lip service support. We've had a chance to literally push and move the allocation. I think from 388 billion to 428 billion. We actually were stuck at 460. That's the gridlock we had the other day with the National Assembly. We had to go for mediation. And I thank the Senate committee members on finance and budget, led by our able chair, Governor Emeritus for Mandera, Ali Roba, and Boni Halwale and the rest, for really standing firm for devolution, for affirming the Senate's support for devolution. We got little money. It's not what we wanted as a Senate for our counties, 460 billion. But at least 28.5 billion extra is quite something. I think, for me, I believe it's good progress. 28.5 billion can do amazing things in the counties. If you give that money to my county, oh my, it's amazing.
Yet when you started, you raised a serious concern about the level of corruption at the county level.
Yes, yes, yes.
When it comes to accountability, how far are we from the Senate's perspective in holding county executives to account?
You would notice we have two main oversight committees at the Senate, CPIC and CPAC. And from time to time, we engage the governors on the audit reports. And the Senate has really been firm on what is reported by the auditors. And governors, I want to thank them. Most of them have been cooperative. They've really been attending this session of the Senate, seeking to listen to the authority. You know, sometimes, and sorry to say, the media runs a narrative. You wake up one morning and you see funny headlines.
And there's a headline on the front page.
I saw it today, payroll issue. And it's a true thing, by the way, Fred. We can't run away from the obvious facts. It is true that some county governors are basically using the payroll to siphon money from public coffers. I mean, it's there. We've interacted with it. It's been in the audit reports. We've really grilled these governors. For legal reason, I cannot mention these counties on air, but I can tell you a lot of nonsense happens with the payroll in county government.
So it is a big problem.
It is a big problem. But then as a Senate, we've been firm on it. We've made direction on the same, and we've really put the governors to task.
Right.
And you'd realize sometimes the relationship between the Senate and the governors gets a bit sour, but it is what it is. We must oversight and hold them accountable. With the little monies that we fight for them, we demand accountability on how they use these funds.
Right. So what are you looking forward to now, and as far as the conference is concerned, from an individual perspective? I know we've talked about what the public should expect. We've loaded the fact that it will be people speaking to the leadership and not the other way around. What, as a senator, a nominated senator, what are you looking forward to over the next 4 days?
Fred, first of all, I began by saying I sit at the Senate courtesy of the young men and women of this country. My biggest expectation and what I'm looking forward individually is to see how the youthful population has been integrated in matters leadership at devolution level. I just want to understand how governors are running their counties by engaging the young voices. Are they listening to the young people? Are young people in this country getting participated enough and coordinated enough and engaged enough in matters devolution? Are they taking up leadership roles? I mean, Nelson Mandela once said the future of our nations belongs to the young people. And the young people must claim it. They must take power. It is never given. So I want to understand if truly the county governments have lived to that mantra by Nelson Mandela by engaging the young people. And what are the young people doing towards making sure they sit at the level of decision making in this country?
Okay.
Because we are a great asset to this country. Most other nations have an aging population. And it is time for us to take up these positions of power and lead the country into prosperity and unprecedented growth in the future.
Finally, I'm sure you've gone around Homa Bay. Probably it's not your first time here.
Yes.
If at all you would use it as an example of a progress in devolution, what would you say?
Fantastic job. I mean, I have to give to Governor Wanga. I have to. And sometimes I feel when you have women in leadership, basically you have prosperity and growth in the society. She's done a good job. I happen to have gone to Bita. I have seen some tarmac road that I've never seen. Perfect investment in the sports infrastructure. By the way, I co-sponsored a bill at the Senate, Amendment Bill on Sports, that seeks to entrench county sports academies in every county. And I'm happy that the President has really gone forward towards making sure every county gets a sports center. And the massive investment they've done here is on blue economy. I mean, Governor Wanga has tapped that space very well. I've seen massive investment in the blue economy space, courtesy with a good working relationship with the county, with the national government. I've seen they've done a nice, what do you call it? Is it a pie or something? Just to ensure that their farmers get well mechanized fishing boats and fishing gear. And I'm happy to see devolution getting alive in Homa Bay.
All right. Thank you so much. 12 years on at Devolution. This is what we're talking about for the next 4 days under the theme for the people, for prosperity, devolution as a catalyst for equity, inclusion, and social justice. And yes, today being the day one of the 4-day conference that will end on Friday this week, when the different sessions will come up with one communique, and hopefully that will help in propelling devolution.
I'm sorry, Fred, I forgot to say thumbs up to Harambee Stars. I mean, a wonderful job. We thank the President for supporting the team, and I hope we are yet to see much from them.
Looking forward to Sunday.
Looking forward to Sunday and quarterfinals. And you boys, I mean, Go Rambesas, we are behind you.
Asante
In
sana.
football, there is unity, so they say.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Raphael
you.
Chimera, nominated Senator. We're just having this conversation as we look forward to the beginning of the Devolution Conference 2025 here in Homa Bay County, county number 43. And we'll continue beaming this and other conversations around matters devolution this entire week. So keep it TV 47. For now, my name is Fred Indemuli. Have a lovely morning.
Yeah, off air now.